I want you to do something for me right now. It is a little uncomfortable, but just bear with me.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. But seriously, unlock your phone and just look at your text messages.
Not the muted group chats, though.
Right, exactly. Not the group chats you muted 3 months ago. And not the automated codes for your two-factor authentication either. I mean, the actual one-on-one threads.
The real conversations.
Yes.
Yes.
Scroll down. How far back do you have to go to find a genuine, spontaneous, hey, do you want to hang out? Text that is not scheduled like 3 weeks in advance.
For a lot of people, honestly, you are going to be scrolling for a while. It is kind of the digital equivalent of walking through an empty hallway.
It really is. And then I want you to do the exact opposite.
Oh.
Open your Photos app.
Going back into the archive.
Go to the archives. Scroll back 5, maybe 6 years.
Yeah.
Go back to when you were 17 or 18 years old. Look at those photos. What do you see?
Just crowds.
Crowds. You see tables absolutely packed with people at the cafeteria. You see those group selfies where you literally have to squeeze your heads together just to fit in the frame?
Yeah, with random people whose names you barely even remember now.
But you were arm in arm with them on a random Tuesday night.
It is basically the visual evidence of your peak social era.
And when you look up from that old photo and stare back at your totally quiet phone today, man, it hits you.
That silence is heavy.
It feels heavy.
Yeah.
It feels like a judgment. I was actually doing this last night while we were prepping for this deep dive, and I just got this pit in my stomach. I thought, is there something wrong with me? Did I become boring?
Did I become unlikable?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I felt like I was failing at being a human being because we are basically raised to believe that popularity is the ultimate metric of success, right?
You were feeling the social recession.
The social recession. That is a great way to put it. So the question we are really wrestling with today, based on our source material, is a big one. Is it normal to have fewer friends as we get older? Or are we just, losing people?
I want to stop you right there on the failing part, because that visceral reaction you just described, that whole shame spiral of, I must be broken, that is exactly what the research we are looking at today is trying to dismantle.
Thank goodness.
They are arguing that what you are feeling is not a personal failure at all. It is not that you suddenly became this terrible person that no one wants to be around.
Okay, but it really feels personal. When you stop getting invited to things, or when you realize you have not spoken to your supposed best friend from high school in an entire year, it feels like a massive rejection.
It feels personal, absolutely. But the sources argue it is actually structural. It is almost mathematical when you break it down.
Mathematical. Okay, I am intrigued.
Yeah, we are going to look at this through 3 specific lenses today. First, we are going to talk about the energy equation.
Which is what?
Basically, why you physically and mentally cannot maintain the roster you had at 18.
Fair enough.
Second, we are going to look at the filter. Why losing friends is actually a natural quality control mechanism.
Quality control for humans.
Exactly. And third, we are going to discuss the divergence. What actually happens when you just organically grow into different people?
So the goal of this deep dive is to basically stop feeling like a loser and start understanding the physics of friendship.
The physics and the economics of emotional bandwidth, yeah. We want to move you from feeling lonely to understanding the actual value of a highly curated circle.
Curated, I like that word. It sounds intentional. It sounds a lot better than isolated.
It is very intentional, and it starts with understanding why things look so completely different back then. Let's look at part 1, the energy equation.
Or shifting priorities, as the research calls it.
Right, let's go back to that high school photo. Why was it so effortless then?
I mean, was I just more charming at 17? I highly doubt it. I had braces and a terrible haircut.
You definitely were not more charming. You were just there. The sources make this really critical point. When we were students, our main job, socially speaking, was literally just being present.
Just showing up.
Think about the structure of a high school or college day. You wake up, you go to a building where all of your friends are basically held captive for 8 hours.
We were literally trapped together in the same rooms.
Proximity is the absolute biggest driver of casual friendship. You did not have to schedule a calendar invite to see your friend. You just turned around in your desk chair. You walked to the cafeteria.
The friction of maintaining a friendship was basically zero.
Zero friction. You had an abundance of free time and an abundance of proximity. But now, fast forward to where we are now. We are 23. We are entering the workforce. The entire architecture of your life has changed.
It is so different.
You are likely isolated in an office, or you are working remotely from your bedroom. You live in an apartment, maybe alone or with one roommate. To see a friend now requires serious logistics.
It requires a strategy meeting. It is like, where are we meeting? What time? How do I get there? Do I have to pay for parking?
And that brings us to the priorities concept our sources introduce. When you are 16, your priority list is incredibly short. Number 1 is friends. Number 2 is maybe school.
Number 3 is video games.
Right. But as a young adult, the top slots are forcibly taken over by basically just surviving.
The sources list them out. Career, family obligations, personal health.
And career is not just physically showing up to work. It is the intense mental load. I want to dig into the limited energy theory the sources mention.
Let's do it, because I think when people hear, I am too tired to hang out, they think it sounds like a lazy excuse.
Or a brush off.
Yeah, I do that to myself all the time. I think, I am 23 years old, I should have endless energy. Why do I desperately want to go to bed at 9 p.m. on a Friday? I feel so guilty for just being tired.
You should not feel guilty at all. Think about the cognitive load of a standard workday. For 8 to 10 hours, you are performing.
Performing is the exact word.
You are wearing a professional mask. You are constantly filtering your thoughts. You are managing your tone in emails. You are solving problems.
Trying not to annoy your boss.
That burns a tremendous amount of glucose in your brain. So by the time 6 p.m. rolls around...
My brain is in power-saving mode. It is just flashing a red battery icon.
Exactly. The source describes this scenario perfectly. You finish work, and the absolute last thing you want to do is go to some mixer and meet 5 new people.
I do not even want to meet one person if it requires any effort. I just want to go home and lie face down on the carpet.
Or just zone out completely. That is why streaming shows is so appealing. Netflix asks absolutely nothing of you.
It does not need me to be funny or interesting.
Right. Because friendship requires input. It requires reciprocity. You have to actively listen. You have to emote. You have to react. To a depleted brain, that just feels like more work.
It is a second job.
So when you flake on plans, and let's be honest, we all do it, it is usually not because you dislike the person you are canceling on. It is because you have hit your absolute energy limit.
It is a capacity issue. It is not an emotional rejection at all. It is just a battery failure.
Precisely. And the research emphasizes this one mantra. It is not personal. It is just life.
Just life happening.
Structural changes really add to this, like friends getting married or moving to new cities for a job. That adds literal physical distance to that energy calculation.
Oh man, the moving thing. That is the absolute killer for friendships right now. I have friends who moved across the country for entry-level jogs.
And suddenly hanging out is not just grabbing a coffee.
No, it is, let's plan a 3-day weekend trip 4 months from now and spend $600 on flights.
And the friction skyrockets. If you have limited energy, are you going to spend it on planning a cross-country trip? Probably not. You're going to spend it on the people who are accessible and who actually recharge you.
So we are basically unconsciously doing a cost-benefit analysis on our friendships.
Pretty much.
That sounds so incredibly cold when I say it out loud.
It sounds cold, but it is actually a vital survival mechanism. You physically cannot be everyone's best friend.
That makes sense.
If you try to maintain 50 friendships with your very limited adult energy, you are going to fail at all of them. You will just be a shallow, flaky friend to 50 people instead of being a fantastic present friend to 3 people.
That is a really helpful way to reframe it. It is not that I'm being lazy or antisocial. It is that I am allocating limited resources.
Exactly.
But this naturally leads to the next big question. If we are instinctively cutting people because of our bandwidth, how do we actually decide who gets to stay?
This brings us perfectly to part 2, the great filter, or the shift from quantity to quality.
The sources use some pretty specific terminology here. Party friends. Fair weather friends. I feel like we generally all know what a fair weather friend is, but let's get specific. How does the deep dive material define this?
A fair weather friend is someone who is present only when the weather is good.
Only when things are easy.
Right. They are there for the fun. They are there when you are buying rounds of drinks. They are there when you are hosting a cool party.
But when it rains,
they completely dissolve. If you lose your job. If you are going through a terrible breakup and you are crying and you are, frankly, not fun to be around.
If your car breaks down.
They are nowhere to be found. They ghost you.
I think I had a lot of these specific friends in college. We just called them going out friends.
Totally.
You would text them at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, but you would never in a million years text them at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday just to talk about your feelings.
Because they are highly context dependent. And when we are younger, we tolerate them. We actually actively seek them out.
Why do we do that?
Because Teenagers and college students value quantity above almost everything else. We want that crowded photo we talked about. We want the social proof of being popular. The research refers to them as high and by friends.
High and by friends. The people you just nod at in the hallway, you know their first name. Maybe you know what their major is, but you do not know their soul.
You do not know their struggles, and that is fine when you have infinite energy. But as your energy pool shrinks, this natural filter kicks in.
The filter.
The source calls it a filter, but I actually really like to think of it as a sieve.
Like a sieve for baking.
Yeah, imagine your life is constantly shaking the sieve. The shaking motion is the stress of adulthood. It is the 40-hour work week, the physical distance, the financial hardships.
And the fair weather friends?
They are small. They lack real substance or weight. So as the sieve shakes, they just fall right through the holes.
That is a great visual. And who is left inside?
The rocks, the diamonds, the people who are substantial enough to actually stay in the sieve despite all the shaking. The research suggests we naturally transition from wanting a massive crowd to wanting just 2 or 3 real friends.
Only 2 or 3. Honestly, that number scares me a little bit.
Why does it scare you?
It just feels really fragile. Like,
Right.
if I only have 2 friends and one of them gets a job in London and moves away, I am suddenly down 50% of my social circle.
It feels risky on paper, but you have to look at the quality of the interaction. This connects right back to the energy point. The sources say something really fascinating here. Small talk is exhausting.
Oh my goodness, yes it is. Can we please dig into that? Why is small talk so uniquely draining? It is just swapping words.
Because small talk is a performance. When you are sitting with a high and by friend, your brain is constantly scanning for safe topics.
How about this weather? Did you catch the game last night?
Right. You are actively avoiding silence because silence with a stranger or an acquaintance is incredibly awkward.
It is painfully awkward.
That takes a lot of cognitive effort. You are essentially managing the entire interaction to keep it smooth.
It is like playing a tennis match, where you are absolutely terrified of dropping the ball. You are just swinging wildly to keep the rally going.
Exactly. But with a real friend, one of the survivors of the sieve, you do not have to perform at all. You can just sit in total silence.
You really can.
You can walk into their apartment, lie face down on their floor, and say absolutely nothing for 20 minutes.
And it is not weird at all.
It is deeply restorative. That kind of interaction does not drain your battery. It actually recharges it. So while having only 2 or 3 friends seems numerically low, if those few friends are zero energy friends, meaning they cost you 0 mental energy to be around, you are actually much less lonely than the guy with 50 friends who has to constantly perform for all of them.
That is a massive distinction. 0 energy friends. I feel like I need to find more of those, or at least realize who they already are in my life.
You probably already have them. They are usually the ones you have not texted in a week because you securely know they are still going to be there when you do.
But wait, the filter is not always perfect, right?
Wait.
Because sometimes we lose people we really do not want to lose. It is not just the party friends who fall through the sieve. Sometimes it is people we cared about deeply.
That is definitely the most painful part of this whole process. And that brings us to part 3, the divergence, or growing apart.
This is genuinely the saddest part to me. The materials talk about friends who just drift. There is no big blowout fight. No one slept with anyone's partner. No one stole any money.
It is just silence.
Yeah, the quiet drift.
Yep.
It is so confusing because you do not get any closure. You keep waiting for the specific event that ended the friendship, but the event never actually happened.
So you are just left wondering.
Right. So why does it happen? If we loved hanging out at 18, why do we suddenly have nothing to say to each other at 23?
Because you literally are not the same people anymore. The source identifies the root cause of this as a fundamental lack of common ground. Think about what actually bonded you guys 10 years ago.
Mostly just proximity. And probably shared enemies, honestly. We hated the same math teacher. We liked the exact same bands.
Exactly. Those are all external things.
Yeah.
You were just reacting to the same shared environment. But as you grow up and leave that environment, you start developing internal values.
Like figuring out who you actually are.
Right. You figure out your political stances, your ethics, your career ambitions, and you might naturally grow in a direction that is 180 degrees away from where your friend is growing.
So maybe I get really into career ambition and self-improvement, and they are still stuck in a phase where they just want to coast and party every weekend.
Or maybe your core values on family change, or how you handle finances. The research states it clearly. It is not about hate. It is simply about a lack of common ground.
You sit down for a coffee with them, and you quickly realize you are just recycling the same 5 old memories because you have absolutely nothing new to build together.
That is exactly what happened.
That is honestly heartbreaking. It is like you are strangers who just happen to have a shared history.
The sources mention the specific modern symptom of it, the Instagram stranger phenomenon.
Oh man, I know exactly where you are going with this.
You are scrolling, and you see an old friend's post on social media. Maybe they have a totally new group of friends, a completely new style, a new obscure hobby you have never even heard them mention.
And you just stop and realize, I do not know this person at all anymore.
And then what usually follows?
The guilt. The massive wave of guilt. I feel like a bad person because I am not part of their daily life anymore. I feel like I abandoned them, or honestly, that they abandoned me.
The deep dive material offers a really powerful philosophical framework to handle this exact guilt. It is a quote you have probably heard floating around, but I want to really break it down today.
Lay it on me.
People come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Season, reason, lifetime. Okay, let's unpack that. Because it sounds a little bit like a cliche Pinterest quote, but I feel like there's actual, real utility in looking at it that way.
It is a framework for acceptance. Let's take a season first. Some people are in your life for a very specific context.
Like your freshman year roommate. Or your study abroad group.
Exactly. You were completely inseparable for that season.
We did everything together.
Because you needed each other for that season. You were navigating a very specific, weird experience together. But when the season naturally changes, when college ends or the trip is over, the underlying logic for that friendship essentially expires.
And that is okay.
It is entirely okay. It does not mean the friendship was fake or shallow. It just means it was seasonal.
It is like a summer romance. You do not get furious that winter eventually comes. You just appreciate that the summer was fun.
That is a perfect analogy. Then there is a reason. The source says some people are brought into our lives to teach us something specific.
Like a professional mentor.
Sure. Or even a really bad friend.
A bad friend.
Yeah. Think about it. A friend who betrays you teaches you a very hard lesson about setting boundaries.
Well, that makes sense.
Or a friend who is incredibly ambitious teaches you about personal drive. Once that specific lesson is learned and integrated into your life, their specific role in your story might just be done.
That is a little tough to swallow, honestly. Viewing human beings as just lessons.
It is not about using them at all. It is about acknowledging that not every single path is meant to run parallel forever. Paths cross, you learn from each other, and then they naturally diverge.
And then finally, the lifetime.
The incredibly real ones. The survivors of the Civ we talked about. These are the people who actually grow with you.
Their values evolve in a way that complements your own evolution.
Exactly. But here's the major mistake we all make, and this is where all that guilt and pain comes from. We try to force seasoned people to be lifetime people.
Oh, wow. We're trying to drag them into a future where they just do not fit anymore.
And that causes massive friction. You end up mad at them for not changing to fit your new life, and they are mad at you for changing in the first place.
So what is the advice from the research?
Let go of the guilt completely. Outgrowing people is an accepted, totally necessary part of growing up.
So if I see that Instagram post of my old friend looking totally different, instead of feeling guilty that I am not in the photo, I should just think, I really hope they are happy in their new season.
Bless them from afar. You absolutely do not have to possess them to appreciate the role they played in your past.
That is actually really liberating. It takes so much pressure off. I do not have to try and save every single friendship I have ever made.
You literally cannot. You do not have the energy for it. Remember the equation from part 1.
Right. Limited energy. Math always wins.
I actually want to touch on one more thing about the limited energy concept that we sort of skipped over earlier.
Okay, what's that?
We talked heavily about work draining us, but what about the intense pressure of self-optimization in our specific generation?
Oh, you mean the pressure to be absolutely perfect all the time?
Yes. The source mentions personal health as a top priority. But think about what that actually means today for someone our age.
It is a lot. You have to go to the gym, you have to meal prep your organic lunches, you have to meditate, you have to drink a gallon of water, get 8 hours of sleep, and you probably need to have a side hustle too.
It is a full-time job just maintaining yourself. So socialization has a massive competitor now. It is not just work versus friends anymore.
It is gym versus friends, sleep versus friends.
And usually basic self-preservation is going to win that battle.
So how do we hack this? Because I do not want to be a highly optimized, lonely hermit with six-pack abs. I want actual friends.
Well, if we look at the quality argument again, maybe the answer is not finding more time, but using a different kind of time. We need to basically kill the dinner and drinks default.
What do you mean by that?
Dinner and drinks is a very high-effort hangout.
That is true. You have to dress up, spend $50, shout over incredibly loud music, and stay out way too late.
It completely drains the battery. So the research suggests embracing the low-energy hangout.
Like what?
Parallel play. Invite a friend over to just exist in the same space. You read a book on the couch, they scroll on their phone in the chair, you order a pizza, you both wear sweatpants.
That sounds absolutely amazing. But wait, isn't that kind of boring?
Only to a fair weather friend. A fair weather friend requires constant entertainment. A real friend just needs you.
Oh, that is the ultimate litmus test. If I invite someone over to literally fold laundry and watch TV and they say, oh no, they go straight into the season bucket. But if they say, I am on my way, they're a lifetime friend.
You are actively filtering for compatibility with your actual messy life, not your curated Instagram life. Your actual life involves doing laundry and being exhausted. Find the friends who seamlessly fit that reality.
That is highly actionable advice. Hey, come over and watch me fold socks. It is a bold opening text, but I kind of love it.
It is vulnerable, and showing vulnerability is what builds real depth.
I feel like we have really taken this whole topic apart today. We have gone from the initial panic of the empty text inbox to understanding the math of our energy, the value of the friendship sieve, and the peace of just letting people go.
It reframes the narrative completely, doesn't it?
It really does. So to bring it all home for the listener, the verdict. Is it normal?
Yes, it is perfectly normal. The sources are absolutely unequivocal about this.
And what is their closing advice for us?
Do not compare your current 20-something life to your teenage years. That is a dangerous trap.
Because the variables are completely different.
Right. You are comparing a time of zero real responsibility and incredibly high proximity to a time of high responsibility and very low proximity. It is comparing apples to oranges.
Your life right now is deeper, even if the circle is way smaller.
Deeper is always better. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have a giant gallon of watered-down soda or one perfect shot of espresso?
Oh, espresso, every single time.
Me too.
So the takeaway is we should not focus on the people who left. We should focus entirely on who stayed.
Focus on the survivors in the sieve. The
Yeah.
people who are still texting you back, even if it occasionally takes them 3 days because they are tired too.
The people who know your parents' first names. The people who actually know your current struggles.
Exactly. And that leads us to our call to action for the listener.
I love giving homework. The deep dive material actually has a very specific instruction for us today.
It does. And I want everyone listening to actually do this right now. Do not just think about doing it later.
Pick up your phone, the exact same phone that felt so quiet and sad at the beginning of this deep dive.
And send a text to one of those lifetime friends. Or honestly, even a seasoned friend who is still hanging on.
What should we say, like, hey, I listened to a deep dive and they aggressively told me to text you?
No, do not blame us. Just keep it incredibly simple. Tell them you appreciate them. Something like, hey, I was just thinking of you. I am really glad you are in my life.
That goes such a long way because you have to remember, they are also dealing with the exact same limited energy and the exact same quiet phone that you are.
They are probably sitting on their own couch feeling just as isolated and lonely as you are.
A simple text from you could instantly break that cycle for both of you.
It is a super low energy investment with a massive emotional return.
I love that. And there's one final reminder from the research that we should mention. It's always possible to make new friends.
Yes, we are definitely not saying the door is nailed shut forever once you turn 23.
Just because the high school season is completely over does not mean you cannot start a brand new season.
But the crucial thing is, the new friends you make now, they will be different.
Because you are different.
Right. They will be friends who organically fit your current life stages. Friends who match your values right now.
So the circle shrinks initially, but it can absolutely grow again, just differently, much more intentionally.
Quality is absolutely everything. Take care of the true friends you already have.
I'm so glad we broke this down. But, before we totally wrap up, there is this one final, slightly provocative thought I wanted to throw out there.
Okay, let's hear it.
It is something I was mulling over while reading the materials. We talked about how losing friends is a sign of growing apart, right?
Right.
What if outgrowing your old social circle is not just normal, but it is actually the ultimate sign that you are evolving correctly.
Evolving correctly.
Yeah, like what if we are actually supposed to be a little bit lonely for a period of time in our 20s, just so we can figure out who we genuinely are, without the constant deafening noise of the crowd?
Oh, that is a really fascinating way to look at it. The silence is not a punishment. It is an incubation period.
An incubation period, exactly. You need the quiet, empty room to hear your own thoughts before you can go out and find the people who actually resonate with that new frequency.
I think that perfectly encapsulates the whole shift from quantity to quality. You cannot find the espresso if you are drowning in a gallon of watered-down soda.
That is the perfect note to end on. Quality over quantity, always. I think I'm going to go send a few of those texts myself right now.
Good plan. I'm going to do the same.
Thank you for diving so deep with us today. It has been incredibly eye-opening.
Take care of yourselves and take care of your friends.
See you next time.